welcome to Saturday Night Live, Fatherland. It's been a while since we've had a session, but this one is absolutely necessary. When an individual dies, we know when they're dead. But what about a state? When is a state dead? When has a state failed? That's the theme of tonight's debates. The submission to be argued by Samson Jesi is that Nigeria is a failed state. The contrary argument, which is to be advanced by Yemi Johnson, is that Nigeria is not a failed state. As we explained earlier, each of the lead speakers will have 5 minutes to present their main arguments, and then they will have 2 minutes apiece to respond to the arguments of their opponents. Have a poll of those who are here. Are you able to, do we have an electronic polling? There we are. 78% support the proposition that Nigeria is a failed state, and opposing is only 22%. Let us begin. Opening the argument and the submission that Nigeria is a failed state. So over to Samson Jesi, and his time begins now.
Yes, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Dele, for having me here. Lara, thank you for keeping the time. And also, I'd like to thank Yemi for opposing my proposition here that Nigeria is a failed state. So thank you all. Well, as Dele has already introduced the topic, I won't spend much time dwelling on it. I propose today that Nigeria is a failed state for many reasons that I have had personally experienced myself. And for what I continue to observe my family and fellow Nigerians experience on a daily basis. Nigeria is a failed state. If you were to take, say, an index of what a state should function as or should function as, think about civic services, talking about things like healthcare, transportation system, rule of law, security. I mean, if you were to rate Nigeria in all this, say from 1 to 10, I wouldn't think anybody would include Nigeria in the scale, because all those, if you like, indices are quite appalling if you were to measure Nigeria's performance. We can't keep denying that it's a country. It is not. The people who are citizens of that country do not enjoy or benefit from any benefits a citizen of a state should have. So I propose Nigeria as a failed state. It is failed, not just today, not just yesterday. It has been failing from inception. It's, in my view, never has been designed to work. If it was designed to work, it would have worked by now, because yeah, there are very many good people in Nigeria. We're all here present. We can all contribute something positive to the country, but how come it is that we cannot? And those people who are there in Nigeria as well, willing and able to contribute to the development of their people and space, their country, cannot. So I have been there myself in my naive sentiments as a Nigerian. I have gone there and worked in different forms. I have gone there personally as an expatriate. I was able to experience, which made me sad in so many ways. I was able to experience what the foreigner experiences. There was never a day in my 4 years in Nigeria I experienced any flicker of electricity failure in where I lived. I didn't experience any typhoid. I didn't experience any threat to myself. I got driven to work. I had a gardener, I had a cook. And then when I go and see my family members in Evans Street, Middleton Street, I had to get dropped in City Hall because I was afraid for them to experience what I think they should have but don't have. I go there, I see how they live in abject poverty and squalor, yet they're so oblivious to their present state. Nigeria is a failed state. I remember young in Lagos where I used to see the town council with their hat going around cleaning gutters. Had it continued from that point on, had it continued, carried on where people are cleaning, where houses are being built for the masses like Jaconde tried to do, where a metro system for mass movement of people were being designed, regardless of corruption, that apart. If all those things were in place, I don't think the average citizen would feel the effect of this large corruption because those things are not there. People are not enabled. So in my case, why? Why continue Nigeria? Nigeria is a failed state. So I really would love to hear what my opposing friend would say about what I have to what I proposed. I think it is a failed state, and I would take some convincing to change that view. All the indexes are wrong. People die in hospitals. People get killed on road accidents. People that are their own local government, their own federal republic. You provide your water, your electricity, your security, your own job. So all these things are indicators that the country doesn't work for the individual, for the citizen. Even you can't get a passport. So yes, thank you for giving me this stage to speak my mind on this topic. Well, thank you very much. I'd just like to tell them thanks.
Thank you, Samson, for those opening submissions. The strength of feeling is clear that you didn't even need all the time that you were allocated. So now to oppose those submissions and to persuade us that Nigeria is not a failed state, over to Yemi Johnson. Your 5 minutes begins now. Do unmute yourself if you haven't already done so.
Okay. Jesi, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dele. So Nigeria has disappointed everybody. So we share that in common. But I disagree with you that Nigeria is a failed state. Nigeria has problems, challenges, indeed serious problems, not to downplay it, and challenges, but it's not a failed state. Now, what is a failed state? When we think of failed states, what comes to mind? If I were to take a straw poll, there will be states like, we'll probably come up with names like Libya, probably Yemen, and to certain maybe some of us might say Somalia. Those are when we think of failed states. And why do we think of those states as failed states? Because a failed state has to meet certain criteria. The first one is that there is no central government in control of the state. It doesn't mean that a state doesn't have internal squabbles, but there is no central government in control. And you have that in Yemen, you have that in Libya. But we don't have that in Nigeria. We still have a central government, albeit one that is weak. And I don't want to engage in too much relativism here, because that is to downplay the seriousness of the issues and challenges that we face. Now, a failed state also has to meet certain other criteria. Apart from not having a central government, it must not have control of its overall territory. Of course, in the case of Nigeria, we have certain parts of the territory in the control of Boko Haram, depending on which side you believe. But by and large, the government is still in charge of vast majority of the territory of Nigeria. The second one is erosion of legitimate authority. That is, the people don't believe in the authority of the government. Now, of course, people are opposed to Buhari, a large section of the population is, but by and large, he was elected again. So he still has a certain amount of legitimacy, overriding legitimacy. Then the third point is inability to provide public services. I'm not going to argue here and say that Nigeria provides public services to the entirety of its citizens, because that's not the case. But it does provide some, and the fact that it cannot provide for everybody does not mean it's a failed state. Because if we go by Jesse's point that it can't provide for its citizens public services, health, serious issues as they are, then a whole host of countries across the world will be failed states. Because some of these points that are raised, that Jesse has raised, in corruption, inability to provide for the citizens, public services, are prevalent in most third world countries. in emerging market countries, like if you go to the Latin American countries, South America, Guatemala, El Salvador, where there are people that are leaving the country en masse trying to get to the USA, those are failed states. But what is a state? Nigeria is over and beyond more than physical territory, more than the armed forces, more than the president. Nigeria is the people. It's the people who make up Nigeria. And I view the state beyond its physical construct. I view Nigeria as the embodiment of its people. And in my view, Nigeria would be a failed state if we, the people, cease to believe in Nigeria. Now, we have different concepts of Nigeria, but we still believe in Nigeria, and which is why we're actually having this debate, because we believe in that concept of Nigeria. And until when the people stop believing in it, Nigeria is not yet a failed state. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those timely submissions, timely in the sense of keeping to time. So there you are, the arguments that it is failed and the argument that it is not failed. But then there's the opportunity to hear the counter. I think it's 2 minutes on the clock. Over to you, Samson. Remember to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Delia, and thank you again, Yemi, and thank you for those submissions. I do understand what the definition of a state should be, and in the case of Nigeria, I'm afraid to I don't know whether, in so many ways, Libya might be even, and Yemen might be even better than Nigeria, in so many ways. But let's not. I don't want to compare those countries to Nigeria. I cannot accept that Nigeria's territory, Nigerian government has control over its borders. If you want to say, well, Nigeria has a central government and also has a territory that it defines as its own, not with people streaming in and out between countries that are bordering Nigeria, whether it's in Lagos. And the other day, people, citizens went and chased away the customs and opened the border. And then as for central government, well, I don't think Nigeria has a central government as such, at least not one that has control of its territory, of its economy, of its people. I'm sure you will come up with counter arguments against those, but we can keep pretending Nigeria is a country. It doesn't function as one. If it does function as one, this argument would not be taking place. We'll be talking about completely different things. We'll be talking about finer things, how to improve things, not whether they exist or not. We're talking about a country that has had the opportunity, ample funds, resources to be able to not be where we are today. So yes, I cannot change that view that Nigeria is a failed state, not with all this scientific definition of what a state should be. It's how does it reach the people? How does it touch the man on the street? How do people feel? As a Nigerian, I don't feel Nigeria should continue to exist. And many people within my family and friends also feel so. So if what you say is we, the Nigerians, believe in Nigeria is not a failed state, well, in my case, I believe it is. So it is a failed state, and many people like me do too. So thank you. Thanks.
Thank you for that, concise and to the point. And let's hear Yemi's response to that. Yemi, your 2 minutes begins now.
Yeah, my response is simple. If you ask someone going through a divorce that how do they feel about marriage, obviously they will tell you that marriage as an institution is rubbish. But we can't look at, everybody here has had a bad experience of Nigeria one way or the other, but we can't take that to then assume to make a leap and then assume that the country is failing, because when you say a country has failed, it is very, very serious. Those are weighty words. It means there's absolute chaos. Nobody's in control. It hasn't got control over anything. Now, a country can be on the path towards failing, which is not the question here. The debate here is that it has failed, and we are not there yet. So my view is, yes, there's weaknesses, there's failures of government, but some of those failures, if you look across other functioning countries, They have some of those weaknesses, some of those failures. Like if you go to America, look at the state of healthcare there. Not every citizen of America has access to healthcare. It doesn't mean America is failing. To a certain extent, America is still trying to police its borders. It doesn't mean it's failing. But my overriding point comes back again that it is we, the people of Nigeria, who determine what Nigeria is. And until we get to the point where you and I say, you know what, Nigeria ceases to exist as an ideal, as an embodiment of our aspirations, then Nigeria has failed. But as long as we are continuing to have this debate, continuing to have Fatherland, which wants a better Nigeria, a Nigeria comprised like a united Nigeria of the orange unity type, Nigeria has not failed. We will only fail when we stop talking about Nigeria as an entity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, there you are. You've heard the arguments. It has failed. It has not failed yet. Now over to the members of the audience. Chima, unmute yourself and let us have your comments.
Good evening, everybody. I won't spend too much time saluting everybody. I am in support of the fact that Nigeria is a failed state. I mean, it's been mentioned here what makes a failed state. But I probably want to just emphasize on personal points, number one, and some probably more generic points. I mean, the opposer mentioned that everybody has had, now this is a personal point, that everyone has had a bad experience of Nigeria, which is absolutely correct. However, everybody who lives in Nigeria, unless you're rich and one of the elite, outside of that, everybody tends to have a bad experience very frequently, every single day. And we hear about it, we see it. So for them, Nigeria is not a good place. The government or the leadership are not secure, are not looking after the citizens. The borders are not secure. We know that. We've known that for about 4 or 5 years now. The borders are not secure. On a personal note, for example, I was born here, but spent many, many years in Nigeria. Loved Nigeria. Used to go back every single year. Last time I went back 2018 with my daughter. Loved it, but was apprehensive. And that's when, for me, things started to go wrong. I would never take my family back to Nigeria now. I feel scared. I feel threatened. I don't think there's really anything for me there. Most things in Nigeria is either you're rich and then you're good, or you're poor and you're nowhere. And one thing I probably also want to highlight is, if anybody has read, there's a book by Paul Collier. It's called The Bottom Billion. It's published in 2007. It talks about the bottom billion in terms of people and countries who are in the bottom poorest. It mentions Nigeria once or twice, but when I read that book in 2015 or thereabouts, I saw Nigeria then as being a country that is in a hole that has no way of coming out. And all the things in the book are now coming to fruition. So in terms of the state, the country, the government has no way of looking after its citizens. Here in the UK, one person gets killed for whatever reasons, we know what happens. In Nigeria, people are getting killed on a daily basis, slaughtered. In fact, not just killed, slaughtered, and nothing happens. So in that sense, Nigeria, the government, they've lost control. And as it stands, Nigeria needs to, the people in government or people in charge and activists and everybody else need to look at that concept called Nigeria and decide what happens with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for those excellent submissions. Your position is clear. Go ahead. Your time starts now.
Yeah, my questions are to Yemi, who was opposing the view. He stated some things about the territorial integrity of a country. Now, I will just give a few examples. May 29th, the majority part of the Southeast was told to stay at home by IPOB, and they did. In Rivers, Wike had to declare curfew from 7 p.m. to, I think, 6 a.m. In parts of the northeast and some parts of the northwest, Boko Haram actually have started collecting taxes from the indigenes within the territorial borders of Nigeria. Now, if that is not an indices of a failed state, I'm sorry, I don't know what one is. That's my point.
Well, that is concise and to the very point.
Can I answer the question, or?
Well, let's take your answer since nobody else
Okay.
is yet volunteering themselves. I'll allow a minute for that, Salah. Go ahead.
Okay. So, Sempafia, I'll throw back a question to answer your question. You do know that during the height of the mafia in Italy, they were collecting money from Italians to protect them, right?
You're talking about not.
No. I haven't finished yet.
Okay.
They were collecting protection money from Italians. That did not make Italy a failed state. I mean, there was a point in time when, in fact, the Red Army, the terrorist faction in Italy, were kidnapping judges and the prime minister, and actually killed the prime minister and judges. That did not make Italy a failed state.
Judge Falcon.
Yeah, and also a prime minister.
Let me hold you there. Let me hold you there. Let me hold you there. Sempathy, yeah, I know this is your first time here for the debates, but we don't talk across each other. You allow them to finish their point, and then you get a chance to come back again, because it just allows the thing to flow. Please go ahead, whatever time is left. That's why it's timed.
Okay, yeah, so I'll just make, those things happen, but we've had instances in other states, in other countries, where they've had parallel criminal organizations collecting taxes, collecting protection money. It doesn't make them, it has not made those states a failed state. This is not to downplay the seriousness of the issues you've raised, but that in itself does not make Nigeria a failed state. It certainly makes it a weak one, a very weak one, but not a failed state, because a failed state connotes, there's a lot of consequences to a state failing. That will be my response, yeah.
Samson, do you wish to comment on what you've heard there? 1 minute.
Yes, actually, I'm still actually surprised that Yemi is using examples such as the mafia collecting. They collect money in Knightsbridge here till tomorrow to protect those jewelry shops, not to get robbed. Yeah, we can't say, well, if they do that, then Britain could be a failed state. But we're talking about people being told whether to go to farm or not to go to farm by a terrorist organization within the territorial integrity of Nigeria. We're talking about goods moving through and criminal gangs moving through Nigeria, in and out of Nigeria. We're talking about ethnic groups not within Nigerian territory coming into Nigeria. People moving animals across Nigerian territory. So, and then you talk about the healthcare system, the civic systems, the transport, and say America, people have difficulty accessing healthcare systems. I understand that. But people don't die of asthma really from fake produced or fake asthma inhalers. There's so many things that indicates that Nigeria hasn't worked, cannot work, will not work, has failed. So it's like trying to revive something that's dead. And that for me is what I can't understand, given so many intelligent people coming from that space in Nigeria. We're very intelligent people, yet we can't see that continuing with what is inevitably going to get us to ruin. We're coming down to a point where people are being macheted, being killed. Is that what we want? It is better to acknowledge and accept what is, so that we can then start to address the problems. If you don't acknowledge the problem, you can't find solution to them. Nigeria has failed. To say it hasn't, that we should keep on trying, it's just continuation of the suffering of people, and it's not right. That's my response, really.
Thank you for that. I see James Peters' hands up. Could you switch your camera on and unmute yourself? Right, go ahead, James. You've got 2 minutes.
Right, okay. I would say Nigeria is not a failed state. I would say it's a failing state. Because there are things in Nigeria that still works. If you want to, for example, South Africa, will they say South Africa is a failed state? People kill each other, left, right, and center. I'm a Nigerian. I'm a proud Nigerian. Nigeria, the way it's going, it might fail, but it hasn't failed yet. Depends what part of Nigeria you live. Nigeria has not completely failed yet. So I will submit to you guys that things could change, things could turn around tomorrow. Nigeria has not completely failed. And I guarantee you things will change for the better. That's my take.
Thank you very much. If you could mute yourself again, we've heard your submissions very clearly. Olumide Lada, go ahead, 2 minutes.
I think it's fair to say that if we carry on this trajectory, Nigeria has the potential to be a failed state. However, one would argue, based on certain indices, that Nigeria is not a failed state. And I guess the question would be, what is the basis for such arguments to say it is failed? We still have external entities investing in Nigeria. We still have opportunities to invest in Nigeria in various sectors, which could bring the state back if certain policies are put in place. The truth is, look, there are many countries where people find difficulty accessing healthcare or education. This country is one of them. I mean, look, if you were to look at America, for instance, depending on what side of the divide you stay, you would argue, based on what we're saying today, that because I don't have access to good education, I don't have access to good healthcare, my neighborhood is ridden with drug barons or gangsters, then does that mean that the nation is failed? No. What it simply means is Nigeria has failed some of its citizens, but certainly not a failed state entirely. We have the opportunity to bring it back with certain changes, with certain policy directions. But I actually think that when I look at Nigeria, and I visit Nigeria very regularly, I have never felt unsafe to the extent that I've got bodyguards around me in Lagos. Now, clearly, what we've seen in the last few months, there's a lot of concern. There's a lot of agitation going on. But you know what? I think we just need a different direction, and we will be going in. We will make a difference. But my submission is that we have the potential to fail, but certainly we have not failed.
Thank you very much.
I'm with Yemi on this one.
Thank you very much. Olumide Jesi has his hand up. Could you switch your camera on and unmute yourself? You've got 2 minutes.
Sure. There's a classic definition of a failed state, because to be called a failed state is such. I mean, that's anyway. So a failed state is a state whose political economic system has become so weak that the central government is no longer in control. That is how political scientists define a failed state. So if you apply that to Nigeria, right, is the government no longer in control of Nigeria politically or economically? It is. The government is still in control. Failed states are states like Syria, Somalia, Iraq, during the war, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Lebanon, Afghanistan, Sudan, I mean, it's so, Nigeria is close to becoming a failed state, in my opinion, but it is not yet a failed state. Now, this is why I depart from a couple of speakers who argue that Nigeria can bend that curve, and move away from, progressing towards becoming a failed state. I don't see that happening, not unless they change the constitution and the kind of things, that we talk about on Fatherland all the time. So as far as I'm concerned, if I look at the classic definition of a failed state, it doesn't fit Nigeria yet, because the Nigerian government is not so weak that it has lost total political and economic control over the country. That, IPOP says stay at home and people stay at home, that's just, that by itself does not make Nigeria like, a failed state, right? So that's just, again, it's on the path towards failing. Right? Can it be rescued? I don't know. But as of today, in my opinion, it's still in a failed state. Just go by the classic definition of what that is. Thank you.
Thank you. So you heard that Nigeria is dying, but not dead yet. It's failing, but has not yet failed. I've heard that. Sympathy, go ahead.
Hi. It was just obviously in response to some of those things that Yemi was putting across. What I was trying to say that, okay, the examples you know we're using, and I know some of people say, oh, we shouldn't compare us to some of those like Yemen and Libya. Those are war-torn or Somalia, or Southern Sudan. We don't want to, instead of going around the issues, can we see Nigeria right now, or the Nigerian authorities, dealing with the pockets of insurrection and troubles all over the place? Like Samson said, yes, because protection rackets happen in nowhere. That is not alone. But when we're looking at all the places, the Southwest, you have the kidnappings and burnings. The Northeast, the Northwest, we still saw, Niger, a place in Niger where school kids were kidnapped again. Now, and we keep on hearing the government saying we will do something, and then you have people like Sheikh Gumi saying, okay, I'll act as an intermediary. When you look at all the different parts where there's trouble, you have onion sellers saying we don't want onions sent down to the south, and all those things. When you put them together, even saying Nigeria's on a path to a failing state, I think that boat is sailed. For me, that boat is sailed, because every time you look at things, safety, you have the US consulate sending out a notice to Americans in Lagos saying, in places like Ikoyi and Victoria Island, please be careful for, when you're moving about, because of the rampant rate of robberies. And in the last month, the amount of videos that we've seen, people being robbed on Echo Bridge and other places at 4 p.m. in broad daylight, and the government is not doing anything, whether it's state or federal. Then what else are we saying it needs to happen? Do we have to have a declaration of war before we know it's failed? That's what I wanted to say.
Olumide, go ahead.
Thank you, Dylan, for indulging me again. I will define Nigeria as a fragile state, as a weak state, and not as a failed state. Nigeria is severely weak, severely fragile, but the central government is still in charge politically, and they're still in charge economically, even though the economic system is it's down the tubes, like things are really bad, but they're still in charge. So Nigeria, as far as I'm concerned, is a fragile state, is a weak state, but it is not yet a failed state. Thank you.
Okay, elaboration on his argument. It is fragile, but not failed. Yemi, my apologies for interrupting you. Now, your closing submissions, 2 minutes.
Yes, my dear Nigerians, there's no point in arguing back and forth as to whether we are failed, when clearly everything shows that we are in serious trouble. We are in serious trouble. We have insurrections in the Northeast, and we have trouble in the Southwest. So everything shows a very dark cloud over Nigeria. And what it calls for on all of us to do is to really rally around to see how we can prevent Nigeria from failing. Because if Nigeria fails, it's not going to be an organized failure where it will fail into nice little pieces that can easily be picked up and reconstituted into whatever way we want to reconstitute it. It's going to fail disastrously. I mean, I don't know if failure can be a disaster, but it's going to be very, very messy. So if you imagine Yemen, put Yemen, Libya together, and a bit of Afghanistan, and times it by a factor of 10, that's probably what will happen if Nigeria fails. That is not to say that we shouldn't really address what is wrong with Nigeria, but we shouldn't let Nigeria fail. We should turn it around, restructure it, reconfigure it to work. But if Nigeria fails, all that will not be possible. It's going to be very, very messy. We shouldn't, the omens are bad, but we shouldn't give in to despair and negativity, because, and assume that Nigeria is failed, because that carries with it a lot of connotations, a lot of consequences. What we should do is take that energy that we have and contribute our efforts to getting Nigeria back on the right path to be a proper state. Stop being a weak state or a fragile state as it is. Thank you.
And thank you for those closing submissions. Now, to answer that, Samson, your closing submissions, please. 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Dele. Thank you very much, Yemi, for very good arguments. But again, I like it when people say definition of what is this and that. Definition of a failed state. It's all this in the theoretical definitions of them. But in reality, when you take all those points, or when you take the definition of what a failed state or a functioning state should be like, and rate them 1 to 10, like I say, security, integrity of your territorial border, safety of people, everything else, I can't understand how one can say Nigeria is a failing state when everything is there obvious to us. As to whether one is being negative, well, I think, in my profession as a consultant, I look at what is presented to me as evidence, and I make a judgment as to advise my clients. So if Nigeria came to me as a client, so what should I do? I would say, well, you can't continue on this trajectory. You need to look at different ways of doing things. And to say a solution would come out of the present Nigeria, I doubt it very much. And for us to change, we have to first of all acknowledge that whatever it is that we are trying to do has failed. To think that it is failing is not really, how can you find a solution to something that you think still works? So I don't know how I can put it across to most of my Nigerians that the country Nigeria doesn't work as a country should work. A country should work. It should provide a security for its citizens. It should ensure the judicial system works. It should make sure that people see some form of benefit and positive benefits from being part of a country. As a citizen of Nigeria, and my experience there has not been such. So I still will posit today that Nigeria is a failed state. It's not failing, it's already failed. And in fact, it failed years back. But my arguments may be emotive, but that's what it is. It has failed. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those closing arguments on both sides. Excellent, excellent debate. This is the kind of brainstorming that Fatherland does at the highest level. Now, we had a poll at the beginning. Could I invite Bonnie, our tech master, to put the poll up? Let's see what impacts the arguments have had. So those supporting Samson's arguments, that's proposing. Those opposing his arguments, supporting Yemi, that's opposing. And you can't vote twice. I think we've got all the votes in, and it is 67% supporting Samson, as against 33% supporting Yemi.
Well, we've chipped away Samson's lead, actually, so we haven't done too badly. We've chipped away his lead.
that is some consolation, I guess. And
you've lost some voters to us, Samson.
You lost, Yemi. When we initially voted, there were less people.
Okay.
Voted for you, so I think it's not because I lost my support.
No, I think that's how you want to spin it.
Yeah, so you're suggesting that Yemi recruited some people, a renter crowd, to come and swing the votes?
Yeah, 1,000 naira each, isn't it?
1,000 naira each to come and influence the votes.
Infrastructure at work. Clearly,
they believe in Nigerians. They wouldn't accept the naira.
Yes. Well, an excellent debate all round. Conducted with great respect. Nothing personal. Just focusing on the issues in the interests of our people. Which is how serious intellectual engagement should happen. If I could take the privilege of sharing my own thoughts, having heard the argument, I do side with the view that it is a failed state, that Nigeria is a failed state. And I'll cite this in support of my arguments. We have a country that has no constitution. As I explained in the debate on Arise TV earlier today, that it's all very well having a document that says the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, but that is just a lawyer or lawyers who have given it that name and title. It is not what you call a document that defines the document, it's the substance that defines it. And so if, as is the case, the statement, we the people, is not true, that it was not made by the people, then, as the lawyers say, it is a fraudulent statement, and fraud unravels all. You can't salvage it. It does not exist. What you have is simply an instrument of governance, which you've chosen to call a constitution. Secondly, this government clearly has no monopoly of force, which is an essential requirement of a functioning state, where people are strolling around with AK-47s, where citizens are not able to sleep in their beds at night in certain areas, and are being shot and then mutilated with no consequences. And this has been going on. I saw a video earlier today dating to 2018, and we're now 2021. And the same thing has been happening. It has no control of its borders. People are pouring in willy-nilly. Who gets to vote? We've lost control of the whole process, because borders, securing your borders, is fundamental to statehood. Right now, it's a state of anarchy. If your connections are strong enough, you might get the protection and the services of the state. But if they're not, it's a matter of potluck. That is not a functioning state. But most importantly of all, conceptually, Nigeria has failed, because Nigeria was, the blueprint for Nigeria was one Nigeria. Very few would argue that that blueprint on which Nigeria was modeled and designed and based and pushed out has failed. The blueprint has to be discarded. So when a project, and we all understand, let's use the language of business, if you push out a commercial project, setting out the principles and your objectives, there comes a point when you say that objective has not been achieved, cannot be achieved as we're currently structured, and we must start again. And I think Nigeria is in that position where we must start again. If we stand back and think about it, I don't think there'll be much dissent. And finally, in respect of the argument that we're failing, but we have not failed yet, I would remind people that there are many grades of failure. There's F1, and then there's F9. But whether it's F1 or F9, you have failed. And so those are my submissions on the issue. But once again, I say again, it's been an excellent debate. I want to thank everybody for their participation. I noticed somebody has put their hands up, but unfortunately, in Fatherland Group, we do run according to rules. And we did say this thing will start at 9 o'clock. We ended up, unfortunately, starting at 9:30, which is not what we normally indulge. Please, next time when we say it's 9 o'clock, it is 9 o'clock. And such that we can go and spend family time with our people, because otherwise these debates just roll on and on. Thank you for spending the time. These are very important issues. We're not just talking. There is learning that will go out to our people when our visual master, our producer, and tech guru does the job on the thing. The people will hear the arguments, and they themselves will make up their mind as to which of the arguments that have been aired this evening are most persuasive. Thank you all again. Until the next debate, this is how we sign off. There's no applause. This is how we sign off. Thank you all very much, and see you on the platform where I'm sure the argument will continue. Thank you.